Coble refused to enter the courtroom for his sentencing hearing this morning.
Heir to his family, his son Gordon lost control once his father closed his eyes for the last time.
Death row for almost 3 decades for killing his estranged wife's parents and her brother back in the 1980s.
Their pasts are varied, but at one time or another, they all have a common thought about their future: death by electrocution.
While we grieve the amazing lives that were lost too soon, we find joy in the blessings and love we have in our family.
Several members of the victim's family were in court today, and as the execution date came down, there were hugs and tears.
Gordon Coble kind of approached the glass, put his hands on the bars of the glass, and then eventually ended up hitting the glass.
The former electrician was convicted of capital murder back in 1990 for the shooting deaths of his in-laws and their son.
Billy Wayne Coble's slaying conviction in 1990. In 1990, the quiet town of Axtell, Texas became the unsettling backdrop for a gruesome and horrifying crime that would haunt the collective memory of the community and captivate the nation. Billy Wayne Coble, a name forever etched in infamy, was convicted in that year for the brutal slayings of 3 members of his estranged wife's family, Robert Vischa, Zelda Vischa, and their son Bobby, a police sergeant. The nature of these slayings was nothing short of chilling. It wasn't a random act of violence, but a calculated and heinous act on his own family. The brutality of the crime sent shockwaves through Axtell, a place where such violence was unimaginable.
Coble refused to enter the courtroom for his sentencing hearing this morning.
While we grieve the amazing lives that were lost too soon, we find joy in the blessings and love we have in our family.
The mere thought of a peaceful family home turning into a scene of horror was enough to send shivers down anyone's spine. What made this case even more nightmarish was the subsequent kidnapping of Coble's estranged wife, Karen Vischa. Coble didn't stop at taking lives. He took Karen hostage, intensifying the horror. This macabre series of events, combining a triple slaying with the abduction of a family member, made it impossible for the media to look away. The entire nation watched in morbid fascination as the story unfolded. Coble's motivations, if one can even begin to fathom them, remained enigmatic. What drives a person to commit such unspeakable acts against their own flesh and blood? The trial that followed was a stark and chilling reminder of the darkest corners of the human psyche, revealing the potential for unspeakable violence that can lurk behind a seemingly ordinary facade. The legal proceedings were a somber affair as the Vischa family struggled to come to terms with the unimaginable grief and loss they had suffered. For them, it was a never-ending nightmare, a constant reminder of the violence that had shattered their lives. Billy Wayne Coble's conviction in 1990 was a stark wake-up call, a harrowing reminder of the depths to which human nature can descend. It left a community scarred and a family forever haunted by the brutality of that fateful day.
Heir to his family, his son Gordon lost control once his father closed his eyes for the last time.
Judge Matt Johnson set his execution date for February 28th.
The pursuit of justice continued for years, culminating in Coble's putting down in 2019. It marked the end of a long and painful journey, yet left an indelible mark on the annals of true crime history. The echoes of that day will forever resonate in the memories of those who bore witness to its horrors. The ambush and slayings in Axtell, Texas. In August 1989, the peaceful town of Axtell, Texas was shaken to its core as Billy Wayne Coble embarked on a chilling rampage that would forever haunt the community. The sequence of events that unfolded on that fateful day is etched in infamy, as Coble meticulously planned and carried out a series of ambushes that left 3 innocent lives brutally extinguished. It all began in the quiet Vischa family home, where Coble launched his heartless attack. Robert Vischa went about his day in the kitchen. He had no inkling of the darkness that was about to descend upon him. Coble, armed with lethal intent, launched his attack, taking Robert's life in a horrifying act of violence. The kitchen, a place of warmth and sustenance, became a scene of unspeakable horror. But Coble's reign of terror did not end there. He swiftly moved to the home of Bobby Vischa, a police sergeant who was likely taken completely by surprise in his own garage. It was there, in a place meant for the mundane routines of daily life, that Coble launched his second ambush. The garage, once a space for cars and tools, became the site of a cold-blooded slaying that defied comprehension. The darkness that Coble brought to that day extended even further. As night fell, Zelda Vischa, the matriarch of the family, returned home, only to be met by a violent end. Her arrival turned the family home, a sanctuary of love and memories, into a crime scene, forever tainted by the horrors that unfolded within its walls. The sheer audacity of these ambushes, the calculated nature of the violence, and the utter lack of mercy left the Axtell community reeling. The Vischa family, once united by love, was irrevocably torn apart, their lives forever marked by the brutality of that day.
Death row for almost 3 decades for killing his estranged wife's parents and her brother back in the 1980s.
Executed Billy Wayne Coble by lethal injection, but not before some of his own family members were thrown out and arrested.
The August day in 1989 was a day that Axtell would never forget, a stark reminder of the depths to which human darkness can descend. Billy Wayne Coble's ambush and the slayings in Axtell, Texas, served as a harrowing reminder of the fragility of human existence and the capacity for evil that can lurk in the most unexpected of places. Kidnapping and police chase. Imagine the chaos and terror that unfurled in the aftermath of those gruesome slayings in Axtell, Texas. Billy Wayne Coble, having already taken 3 innocent lives, wasn't content with just that. No, he plunged deeper into the abyss of darkness as he kidnapped his estranged wife, Karen Vischa, setting off a high-speed police chase that would have your heart pounding and your nerves on edge. With the ghastly crime scene still fresh, Coble abducted Karen, making an already horrific day even more nightmarish. Can you even begin to fathom the fear that gripped her, knowing she was in the clutches of the man who had just taken her family from her? It's the stuff of our worst nightmares, a real-life horror movie. It's a chilling reminder that evil exists in this world, and it's up to the heroes in uniform to stand against it. Billy Wayne Coble's demise sentence. Now let's delve into the lengthy and convoluted journey of Billy Wayne Coble's demise sentence. Brace yourself, because this story is far from ordinary. It's a chilling saga of the legal system, filled with twists and turns. Back in 1990, a grave decision was made in the courtroom, one that would forever alter Coble's destiny. The court didn't hold back. They sentenced him to demise, an unforgiving punishment with no room for second chances. It was a stark reminder that justice, in its most severe form, was about to be administered. But this is where things took a seriously twisted turn. Instead of a swift resolution, Coble's life became a never-ending legal roller coaster. For nearly 3 decades, he called Texas's Demise Row his home. It was a place where time crawled by and hope was a rare and fleeting visitor. As he languished in that cold, isolated cell, the legal system engaged in a complex dance with his fate. Appeals, challenges, debates, they all dragged on for years. The courtroom turned into a battleground where lawyers fought tirelessly to either uphold or overturn that fateful demise sentence.
Their pasts are varied, but at one time or another, they all have a common thought about their future: death by electrocution.
The former electrician was convicted of capital murder back in 1990 for the shooting deaths of his in-laws and their son.
Legal proceedings aren't known for their swiftness, and in Coble's case, they moved at an agonizingly slow pace. He watched as his life hung in the balance, a pendulum swinging back and forth with each court ruling. It was a nerve-wracking waiting game, both for him and for those watching from the sidelines. But as time trudged on, the legal system finally reached its grim conclusion. After nearly 30 years of legal wrangling, Coble's fate was sealed. The demise sentence, which had loomed over him since 1990, was finally carried out, and Coble met his end in the putting down chamber. Billy Wayne Coble's case is a sober chapter in the book of justice. It forces us to question the true nature of justice and the role of the legal system in delivering it. This story leaves you with a lingering sense of unease, making you wonder if justice was genuinely served or if the system failed all those involved. Coble's lack of remorse and infamous last words. Now let's delve deeper into the unsettling world of Billy Wayne Coble, a man known for his chilling lack of remorse and his infamous last words that continue to baffle. His demeanor, both before and during his putting down, painted a stark portrait of a man untouched by guilt. From the very beginning, it was clear that Coble had no intention of offering any form of remorse for the gruesome slayings he had committed. His unapologetic attitude was as cold as the crimes themselves. He faced his impending putting down with a stoic and unyielding demeanor, seemingly untouched by the gravity of his actions. As he approached his final moments, Coble's last words left witnesses in a state of bewilderment. He didn't simply utter the words $5. His cryptic farewell was a puzzle with multiple pieces. In the midst of it all, he declared his love and called out names. His messages were like fragments of a dark enigma, and their meaning was far from obvious. To understand the mysterious reference to $5, one must delve into Kobel's past. It harkened back to his experiences during the Vietnam War, a time that haunted him and left a profound impact. The mention of $5 was a glimpse into the torment and horrors he had witnessed during his service. It was a cryptic message that, for those who knew his history, hinted at the demons that had plagued him.
The McLennan County Sheriff's Office will now issue a death warrant as Kobel awaits execution in Huntsville.
Gordon Kobel kind of approached the glass, put his hands on the bars of the glass, and then eventually ended up hitting the glass.
Several members of the victim's family were in court today, and as the execution date came down, there were hugs and tears.
In the putting down chamber, Kobel's final words were a chilling concoction of love, cryptic references, and the calling of names. It was as if he wanted to leave behind a riddle, a puzzle that might never be completely unraveled. His lack of remorse and these perplexing last words added another layer of intrigue to an already chilling tale. Billy Wayne Kobel's story remains a haunting and enigmatic one. It serves as a stark reminder of the complexity of the human psyche and the darkness that can reside within. His unapologetic attitude and cryptic farewell continue to leave us with questions, inviting us to contemplate the mysteries that shroud his legacy. The lack of remorse and the cryptic final words of Billy Wayne Kobel paint a disturbing picture of a man who seemed immune to the weight of his heinous crimes. In the face of his impending putting down, he showed no signs of repentance or empathy for the lives he had taken. Kobel's last words before his putting down were a perplexing mixture of emotions and references. While the phrase $5 stood out, it was just one piece of the puzzle. He also expressed love and called out names, leaving those present and observers bewildered. To decipher the meaning behind $5, one must delve into Kobel's past as a Vietnam War veteran. This reference was a haunting glimpse into the traumatic experiences he had endured during his service. It hinted at the deep scars and torment that had haunted him for years. Legal challenges and overturning of demise sentence. Let's dive into the wild legal journey of Billy Wayne Kobel. In 2007, the 5th U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals dropped a legal explosive news that sent shockwaves through his case. They ordered a whole new trial on his punishment, and it wasn't just a simple paperwork shuffle. It was like flipping the whole game board upside down. Why, you ask? Well, they had some major beef with the questions that were thrown at the jury during Kobel's original trial. They said those questions didn't cut it, especially when it came to Kobel.
The execution date for a Central Texas man who killed 3 members of his estranged wife's family 29 years ago was finally read in court today.
Rowe for almost 3 decades for killing his estranged wife's parents and her brother back in the 1980s.
And again, they just expressed their disappointment with the justice system, saying that it shouldn't have taken this long.
It's like saying the rules of the game were rigged from the start. What does that mean in plain English? It means the whole sentencing phase was a mess, and they decided to hit the reset button. So, Kobel, who was staring down the demise penalty, got a second shot at justice. Can you imagine the shockwave that sent through his life and everyone involved? Put yourself in Kobel's boots for a minute. One moment you're living under the shadow of a demise sentence, and the next, someone says, "Hold on a sec, we need to rethink this whole thing." That's a whirlwind of emotions and a crazy legal roller coaster, to say the least. These legal battles aren't just some boring courtroom drama. They're a prime example of how the justice system can be a real maze. It's a long, winding road where justice doesn't always come easy. Sometimes it takes years to figure out what's right and fair, especially when it's a life or demise situation. Now, you might be thinking, why did it take so long for them to figure this out? Well, the legal system is like an intricate puzzle, and sometimes a few pieces are missing. The courts need to make sure they've got all the pieces in place before they make a decision that serious. So, here's the deal. Kobel's legal saga is a stark reminder that the justice system, even in the most serious cases, can be like navigating a never-ending labyrinth. But it's all about making sure justice is done right, no matter how many twists and turns it takes. In the end, justice should be the North Star guiding the legal system, and while it might sometimes take a wild ride to get there, it's all in the name of getting things right. Koebel's story is just one chapter in that bigger book of justice, and it shows that even in the toughest cases, the legal system keeps trying until it gets it right. Final putting down of Billy Wayne Koebel. Billy Wayne Koebel's journey through the legal system came to a dramatic and definitive end with his putting down by lethal injection in the state demise chamber in Huntsville, Texas, in February 2019. This moment marked the culmination of a prolonged legal process that had spanned decades, making it a profoundly significant event in the annals of the Texas criminal justice system. Koebel's case had been anything but straightforward. For nearly 30 years, he had navigated the intricate and often convoluted pathways of the legal system. His story began in August 1989, when he committed a series of heinous crimes that sent shockwaves through the tight-knit community of Axtell, Texas. In August 1989, Koebel ambushed and slayed his estranged wife's family members. He shot Robert Vischa in the kitchen, then went to Bobby Vischa's home, where he ambushed him in the garage.
The longer you live, the easier it is to accept death. Who is not going to leave this world?
Execution date has been set for a man convicted of a triple murder.
Billy Wayne Koebel.
A person said one time, he said, "That's a horrible way of dying." I said, "What is a good way?"
Zelda Vischa met the same tragic fate when she arrived home later that evening. These brutal slaying left an indelible scar on the community, and justice for the victims' families became paramount. The legal saga that followed was as intricate as it was protracted. Koebel was arrested, tried, and convicted in 1990, receiving a demise sentence for his crimes. However, this was just the beginning of a series of legal battles that would come to define his case. In 2007, the Fifth U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals ordered a new trial on punishment for Koebel, citing issues with the special questions posed to the jury during his initial trial. The court ruled that these questions were unconstitutional as applied to him. This decision was a seismic shift in the legal landscape of Koebel's case. It wasn't a minor adjustment, but a complete reevaluation of the sentencing phase of the trial. This significant legal maneuver represented the complexity and tenacity of the justice system. The questions posed to the jury were not just minor technicalities, they were fundamental to the determination of Koebel's fate. This decision meant that the entire sentencing process had to be revisited, reevaluated, and redone.
I feel bad about killing the first person I killed in Vietnam. I see them just as vividly, just as clear.
Faces execution for killing his estranged wife's parents and her brother, who was a Waco police officer.
As I did the day that it happened, but I can never go back and change that.
For Billy Wayne Koebel, this meant another shot at justice. It was like a surreal twist in a legal drama that had been playing out for almost 2 decades. The prospect of a new trial brought a wave of emotions, not just for Koebel, but for everyone involved. It was a stark reminder that the pursuit of justice could be a long and winding journey with unexpected turns. Koebel's final putting down was not just the end of a legal battle, it was the closing of a chapter in the lives of the victims' families. For them, it was a moment of bittersweet closure, a culmination of a long and painful journey towards justice. The legal system had spoken, and the punishment for Koebel's crimes had been carried out. Billy Wayne Koebel's case had showcased the legal system's ability to revisit, reevaluate, and ultimately reach a final decision, even in the most complex and protracted legal battles. It underscores the fundamental principles of justice and accountability, reminding us that the legal system is designed to uphold these principles no matter the challenges it encounters. In the end, justice was served, and the final verdict was delivered. Interview with Susanna Reed. In a chilling interview with Susanna Reed, conducted just days before his putting down, Billy Wayne Koebel showcased an unsettling and unapologetic demeanor regarding the horrific crimes he had committed and his impending demise sentence. It was a moment that left a lasting impression on both Reed and the public, revealing Koebel's unrepentant attitude in the face of his heinous acts. The August 1989 shooting in Axtell, Texas, had sent shockwaves through the community and shattered the lives of the Vischa family. The brutal slayings of Robert and Zelda Vischa and their son Bobby Vischa, along with the subsequent kidnapping of Koebel's estranged wife Karen Vischa, had gripped the nation's attention. Cobb's interview with Susanna Reed was a rare opportunity to delve into the mind of a man who had committed such gruesome acts. It was an interview that drew attention, due to the stark contrast between the enormity of his crimes and his seemingly relaxed and unapologetic demeanor. Kobel's attitude was perhaps best captured by his response when asked about his thoughts on the gruesome slayings. "To some people it matters," he replied. "To me, it really no longer matters." This chilling response underscored his lack of remorse for the lives he had taken and the pain he had caused to countless others.
On the reason that you've spent almost 30 years here on death row, it was for an act of extreme violence.
They didn't want to speak on camera, but they were skeptical about if this execution is actually going to happen.
Do you regret what you did that day? Do you understand and feel the horror?
When pressed further on the slayings of his wife's parents and brother, Kobel stopped short of offering an apology, stating, "Okay, if you want me to give some type of rehearsed apology or something, I mean, I've already said that I regret what happened. Now I fully regret what happened. But I also truly regret a lot of things in life." This interview gave an eerie glimpse into the mind of a man who had committed unforgivable acts. His lack of remorse and his seemingly nonchalant attitude about the impending demise penalty left many listeners deeply unsettled. It was a stark reminder that some individuals are capable of heinous acts and may never express genuine remorse or empathy for their victims. Kobel's unapologetic stance, even in the face of imminent putting down, left a chilling impact. It served as a stark reminder of the depths of human darkness and the complexity of the criminal mind. It was a moment that Susanna Reid and the audience would not soon forget, as they came face to face with a man who had committed the most horrendous of crimes and remained unrepentant until the end. Kobel's unapologetic attitude. In the interview with Susanna Reid, Billy Wayne Kobel's unapologetic attitude was on full display, and it sent a chilling message about his state of mind. When the subject of the gruesome slayings came up, Kobel's response was far from what one might expect in such a situation. He callously remarked that the slayings no longer mattered to him, a statement that left a profound impact on those listening. His words were a stark contrast to what many would consider the natural human response in the face of the pain and suffering he had inflicted upon the Vischa family. It was a cold and unfeeling statement that reflected his lack of remorse and his seemingly callous detachment from the gravity of his actions. Furthermore, when probed further about the slayings and the possibility of offering an apology, Kobel fell short of expressing genuine contrition. His response was as unsettling as it was unapologetic. He said, "Okay, if you want me to give some type of rehearsed apology or something, I mean, I've already said that I regret what happened. Now I fully regret what happened, but I also truly regret a lot of things in life."
I accepted I did the murders, yes. I accepted that I'm here for those murders, yes.
But Bill, you accept that you're guilty of those murders, don't you?
It matters. To some people, it matters. To me, it really no longer matters.
This response was a far cry from a heartfelt apology, as it seemed to lack sincerity and genuine remorse for the heinous crimes he had committed. Kobel's demeanor during the interview reinforced the notion that some individuals may never come to terms with or express remorse for the pain and suffering they have caused. Victims' family and impact on them. The impact of Billy Wayne Kobel's crimes extended far beyond the immediate victims and reached deeply into the lives of the Vischa family. For years, they endured a painful and arduous journey through the legal system, seeking justice for the heinous slayings of their beloved family members. The August 1989 shootings in Axtell, Texas, forever altered the course of the Vischa family's lives. The brutal slayings of Robert and Zelda Vischa and their son, Bobby Vischa, were a devastating blow that left an indelible scar on the family. The trauma of losing their loved ones in such a horrific manner was compounded by the subsequent kidnapping of Karen Vischa, a terrifying ordeal that would haunt her for years to come. The legal proceedings that followed were protracted and filled with delays, further exacerbating the pain and suffering endured by the Vischa family. Billy Wayne Kobel's numerous appeals and challenges only prolonged their agony, preventing them from finding the closure they so desperately sought. However, the putting down of Kobel in February 2019 marked the culmination of this lengthy and painful chapter in the Vischa family's lives. For them, it was a moment of relief and closure, a step toward healing the deep wounds left by the traumatic events of that fateful August night. The knowledge that the man responsible for their unimaginable suffering was no longer a threat offered a sense of solace and justice, albeit long overdue.
I'm not talking about other things. I'm talking about the murder of Bobby and his parents.
I feel bad about What I did and what the world's done, we've got about a lot of things.
Several members of the victim's family were in court today, and as the execution date came down, there were hugs and tears.
That's all for this video, folks. We'll see you next time.